So you might have seen me recommend and preach about those Intel CPUs on the channel for the last 2 years. But the interesting thing is, I'm not sure if you knew that my personal rig, which is over here, is actually using the 13950X Ryzen 9 CPU, and I've been using this for years, but it's time I switched.
You're still a traitor.
In fact, I already have. This over there is the new PC. Well, it's the old chassis, but I have upgraded it to the 13900K. And here's 8 reasons why I did it, and if you're running a similar workflow, maybe you want to do that as well. Let's talk.
Looking for a cheap way to license your Windows? Check out Hookie's through the links in the video description. Make sure to use the code TN20 to get a 30% off. Paste the license to the activation settings and you're all done. This license is for Windows 10, but you can upgrade it to Windows 11 for free. They also offer Microsoft Office 19 license. Use the same code TN20 to get a 30% off. Check out Hookies.com in the video description below.
So reason number 1 is the performance in my workflow. Now, no matter what workflow you are working on, whether that is video, 3D, photo, but even in video editing, for example, you can have so many different workflows, and some CPUs or some hardware might work better for you, and the same with like photo editing. Depending which software you use, the performance might vary on different hardware. And I had pretty much any hardware at disposal to try, and what I've been testing on the channel, but I have the privilege of actually testing all of it and then seeing, do you know what, this one will work the best for me, and that's what we have done. And the 13900K comes on top on all of the benchmarks when we're talking about Premiere Pro and Adobe Suite, video editing, photo editing, and so on. Now, the other options out there would have been the Ryzen 7950X or X3D now as well, Threadripper, and Xeon now as well out there. But if you're looking at the price point for all the other ones and the performance of the 13900K, you realize that the 13900K is the one that makes a lot more sense. And when you've seen some of the video editing tests we've done with the 7950X, you've realized that there was some interesting quirks and it wasn't quite stable enough, and there was weird performance things, and the 13900K just performed so much better, so it was kind of a no-brainer for you, especially if you're earning money with the machine that you're working on. Number 2 is the performance between i7, i5, and i9, because a lot of people think that, oh, why don't you go with the i7, because that makes much more sense, because the i9 is actually a smaller upgrade there and maybe thermal throttles and so on. Well, let me burst your bubble. If you haven't seen the i5, i7, or i9 video, then the interesting thing is that the performance between i5 and i7 is smaller increase than between the i7 and i9 in Premiere Pro. The i9 13900K gives more performance increase in Premiere Pro compared to the i7 than the i5 to the i7, if that makes sense. Go have a look at the i5, i7, i9 video if you don't know what I'm talking about. There you can see all the different programs and all the benchmarks there. So even though the i7 looks like the best bang in the middle there, in Premiere Pro, the i9 makes more sense for me. So the i5 to i9 is kind of the upgrade path there. Number 3, iGPU and Intel QuickSync. The iGPU on the 13900K for creators, for video editors in Premiere Pro and DaVinci Resolve, especially in DaVinci Resolve. Premiere Pro gives a little bit of a performance increase, but in DaVinci Resolve, it's much more. It is absolutely huge, and please don't make the mistake when choosing a CPU to go with the KF variant thinking, I already have a 4090 in there, why do I need the iGPU? I have a 4090 in there, and the iGPU will still give you more performance than the 4090. They're completely different things, and what we're after are the media engines inside the CPU. If this is new for you, this will blow your mind. You probably know this already, but the iGPU and Intel QuickSync will accelerate the timeline performance, encoding and decoding performance of H.264 and 5 codecs, and some of the codecs aren't even supported on the 4090, but they are supported on the 13900K, the UHD 770 iGPU. For example, if we're talking about 4K, H.265 10-bit 422, then this is only supported as a playback, hardware accelerated playback on the iGPU, but the 1490 can't do it. So if you have the likes of 3900KF with a 1490 and you play back that H.265 10-bit 422, then you're not gonna get a smooth playback. It's gonna get all played back on the CPU, so all of your cores will be probably 100% utilized. The CPU will get loud, it pulls a lot of wattage, but now with this one, we only pull in a few watts there with the iGPU, it plays back on hardware. It's super important. And because my workflow consists of H.264, B-RAW, and H.265 codecs, this iGPU will give me extra performance that I can just play back and utilize when editing video. Number 4, power efficiency compared to the Ryzen 7000. And you might be thinking, what on earth are you smoking?
You feel that right away. Wow, that's good. That's good. That's an immediate state of euphoria.
Because we all know that Intel pulls so much more power over the Ryzen CPUs. What are you talking about? Well, you might want to see my average power consumption video between Ryzen 7000 and Intel 13th, 12th gen, where I compared it to a lot of the CPUs. And basically what I found is that the Ryzen CPUs, and what we used previously as well, the 3950X as is the victim of that as well, I think because of the chiplet design on these CPUs and, well, somehow the idle power consumption is extremely high on there. For example, there right now when the editor is taking a break, just checking something on the phone, and this is running just there, it's open, you're going to be pulling about 40 to 60 watts without doing anything at idle with the Ryzen CPUs. But with the Intel ones, we're gonna be idling at less than 10 watts sometimes, depending, you know, how much stuff is going on in the background. But overall, the whole workload power consumption will be much better on the i9 CPU than any of the Ryzen 7000 CPUs, believe it or not. If you don't believe what I'm talking about, go have a look at the full video. I'll link it in the description below as well, so you can find it there, but it's on the channel. You can see that the Intel CPUs actually on average pull much less wattage when compared the whole workflow of load, idle, mid load, high load. So there you can see that Intel is actually consuming less wattage, which I'm a fan of saving some money. And you'll see in a moment how the price actually is cheaper on the Intel as well. Number 5, stability. And well, this is kind of a hard thing to really give as a reason, because it depends on the use case, and I can probably find loads of people who've had stability issues with Intel. If you're one of them, please let me know in the comment section below. Share your experience, I would love to know from you. And the same from people who are using AMD. There's people out there who have stability problems, but in my experience, what I have found there with AMD CPUs, especially the Ryzen 9s, of 3000, 5000, so on, I've encountered some stability issues sometimes. I can't say for certain that this is Ryzen, right? And we're gonna see what the stability of this CPU is in, you know, a few weeks time or a few months time, when I'm gonna do a conclusion. Was it worth switching to this one or not? But I'm looking to see if I can get better and stable performance of the software on this CPU rather than on the Ryzen platform, if that makes sense. This is one of those reasons that I haven't tested yet, or that I don't know yet, but I'm actually keen to find out. So stay tuned for the update video, or what would you like to know? Just let me know in the comment section below. Number 6, the IMC performance over Ryzen CPUs. By IMC, I mean the integrated memory controller. The 13th gen has a much better memory controller if you're looking to run very fast RAM. If you're looking to go past 6000 mega transfers per second, then the 13th gen will be much better. But not just the fast RAM, but also the larger capacity RAM kits. When you're trying to run more than 64 gigabytes, then pretty much all of the cases, the Intel's 13th gen will give you a better and stable performance, just because the memory controller is better. It's generation newer than anything else out there. Ryzen 7000, 17, and the X3D chips. The 13th gen has a better memory controller. So if you're looking to run more than 64 gigabytes, then this is a much better option for you. I have got 64 gigs of Corsair Vengeance 5600 mega transfers CL36 installed in there, but Corsair has actually launched already 96 gigabyte kits, and then pretty soon we should be also seeing 128 gigabyte RAM kits in just 2-stick capacity, which will be very, very interesting to see. But also 4-stick capacity, if you trying to run XMP and 128 gigabytes, you're gonna get much bigger chance of succeeding running XMP with the 13th gen than anything else out there. So that was another tick for me. Number 7, Thunderbolt support. As much as we have Thunderbolt ports in some of the AMD and ProArt motherboards from ASUS or USB 4, the Thunderbolt ports aren't really fully supported on AMD. Now, you might be arguing with this and saying, look, it is supported and it's completely fine. But in reality, you'll see that it is much more stable and better support on the Intel platform. And if you're looking for Thunderbolt support, then that's going to be the case. Now, I'm looking into some of the faster Thunderbolt SD card readers and so on to actually get Thunderbolt as well. That's like another big upside for me. Although the Z790 ProArt that I'm running there at the moment has some kind of a weird compatibility with non-Thunderbolt USB-C devices. So I've got the Kingston SD card kind of reader hub, whatever that's called, media center, and for some reason the Thunderbolt doesn't always read it, and whenever I restart the computer or come back, it's not there. I have to re-plug it, and then sometimes it reads it, but then when it does read it, it reads it at super slow speeds, which is just weird to me. So I don't know what is going on over there. I'll have to find that out. If you know the answer to that one, please let me know in the comment section below. If there's any issues with Z790 ProArt, like previous or backwards compatibility with non-Thunderbolt USB-C devices. And last, number 8 is the price. You might be saying, look, the Ryzen CPU is actually now cheaper than the 13900K. And at the point when I'm making the video, I can see on Amazon, the 13900K is about $20 more expensive. 579 and 555, so about $25 more expensive on the Intel side. So if that is the case, it looks like a better one. But actually the motherboard is where the kind of platform cost becomes more expensive, because the motherboard's the X670E. So if I wanted equivalent of this Z790 ProArt, then I'd have to get the X670E ProArt, which would be extra $50 more expensive at the time of me making the video. $443 for the Z790 ProArt and $499 for the X670E ProArt. So that's almost $60 more expensive, which means that the platform cost actually is cheaper on the Intel one as well. Plus the power consumption that I'll be saving in the years to come, that will all make up for that. But some people might be saying, what about the upgradability? And I'd be saying, well, like I upgraded right now. I think by the time I'll be upgrading, you know, in a few years time, depends, if something happens very, very fast, we'll have to upgrade faster, because time saved is money saved, right? Most likely I can keep a lot of the other things like fans and coolers and GPU maybe even, but motherboard, RAM, CPU, that's like the 3 combo that I upgraded on this one, and it was good. So if you have recently swapped from Ryzen to Intel, I would love to know what your experience is like in the comment section below. If you want to pick up any of these CPUs, I'll leave them linked in the description below, as well as the reviews of these CPUs. If you're new and you're a creator and you don't know, oh, which CPU should I go for, then highly recommend go check out any of the 13th gen, 12th gen, or Ryzen 7000, 5000 CPU reviews on my channel. This will give you a comprehensive view of which platform, which CPU is best for your workflow. But if you do want to pick and build yourself the best bang for buck creator PC, then there's going to be build guide in the description below. It's going to be the best bang for buck build for you, whatever budget you have. There's one video for you, pick the one closest to your budget, and then within the video I'll explain the upgrades, downgrades to configure the budget to your needs and for your workflow. I think these are the best options out there, honestly. So go check them out. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll meet you in the comment section below.